for those who don't know me, I am Nobue and I'm soon to be a law degree holder from the University of Victoria. A few days ago, I posted a poll on Facebook saying how many people would like short 5 to 10 minute videos that just talk about law as it applies to us daily, just general questions. And quite a number of people responded positively. So I have a few weeks to go before I start adulting, so I thought, why not just do something fun with the knowledge that I still have before I forget everything that I just studied. Before I go to the legal questions, I thought it's wise that I address some misconceptions that generally exist about law. So whenever I tell people that I'm studying law, there are basically 2 types of reactions that I get. There's the one that says, oh, that's great, you're gonna represent me in court one day. You know that usual one, my law friends will agree. And then on the other hand, there's the, oh, you guys are the ones who represent criminals, yeah, I'm not going to heaven, all that stuff. Basically, I think there are 2 misconceptions about law. The one being that all people who study or practice law represent criminals, meaning that they're in criminal law. And then on the other hand, the other misconception is that all people who study law, practice law, find themselves in court one way or the other. This is what I want to clarify a bit. Oh yeah, the third question that I usually get is, what kind of law are you studying? So maybe let me start with that one. With the what kind of law are you studying question, in undergrad, you pretty much study everything because it's impossible for you at 19 when you begin varsity to know that I want to specialize in contract law. Actually, you won't even be knowing that there's something called contract law. You just go in there saying, I want to study a law degree. So undergrad, you pretty much do everything. What determines what you then go on to practice is usually the type of law firm that you do your articles at. Some people do their articles at family law type of law firms, some in criminal law firms, other people study in commercial law firms, and things like that. So it depends on the law firm that you go into and maybe also your interest, because I think your interest will influence what type of a law firm you apply to do your articles at. Now that we're done with the what kind of law are you studying, let me just clarify that law is just a word that encompasses everything that falls within legal type of stuff. So there are basically 2 branches of law. That's the public law and private law. So in the public law, that's where you get your constitutional law, your administrative law, and you know those serious, I almost say boring, but it's not boring, but the serious kind of stuff. Then with private law, that's when you get your family law, your contract law, your commercial law, and things like that. So it's not that when you go into practice, you're going to practice every single thing. It's possible, but a lot of people actually just go either into commercial or into criminal or into trusts and estates and things like that. So with time, expertise and practice pushes you in one direction over the other. So that's addressing the first misconception that everyone who studies law is going to do criminal law and they're going to defend a murderer. No, not every law student goes into that. Some people will never even see the inside of a courtroom. And then the second misconception, which I spoke about earlier, is also that people believe that if you study law, you're always going to end up in court representing someone. That's not always the case. When you have a law degree, there are so many things that you can do with that law degree. And apart from advocates, not everyone really does end up in a formal judicial setup where you stand up and you object and all that stuff. So I think I'm just going to take you through the different avenues that you can follow if you have a law degree. Many people also think that if you're studying law or if you have a law degree, you aspire to become an advocate. Actually, a lot of people will address you as my advocate. Oh, so you're going to be an advocate. But it's not everyone who studies law who wants to be an advocate. So I have to set out the difference between an attorney and an advocate. So most people are attorneys. These are the people who work at law firms. So you've gone to university and you've gotten your law degree. I've noticed that a lot of people think that you'll become an advocate, or rather they use advocate and attorney interchangeably. Actually, a lot of people don't know that there's something called an attorney. Most people just know that there's an advocate. So when you say you're studying law, they say, oh, so you're going to be an advocate. So I think I need to differentiate between the 2 to begin with. An attorney, typically you do your LLB, then you go to a law firm and you do your 2 years of articles, and then you write your board exams and you qualify and you become an associate. Usually an attorney, those are the people who work in the law firms and on a daily basis they deal one-to-one with clients and things like that. The advocate, on the other hand, is more of like a specialist in litigation, so to speak. So in most cases, advocates don't actually interact one-to-one with clients. So the client will go to an attorney and say, I have this type of a matter. Then if there's a reason for it to go ahead into litigation, the attorney will then go to an advocate who is a specialist in what? In litigation. So the attorney will go to an advocate and present the case of the client to the advocate. And the advocate, by virtue of being a specialist in litigation, is the one who then prepare for trial, obviously with the help of the attorney, because the attorney down is the client file. So the advocate will prepare for trial and present it to the court. Those are the two mainstream things that you can do with the law degree. Rather, that's where a lot of people end up. And then besides the attorney and the advocate, we have what we call legal advisors. Nowadays, companies, instead of going to a law firm and paying them a retainer, and each time there's a legal issue, you call in the lawyers from outside. Nowadays, a lot of companies, especially banks, employ what we call in-house counsel. So what happens is that they have their own person who is a registered attorney who then practices as the firm's or the company's attorney. So this person pretty much just works with the business of that specific company or the specific bank. So you don't have to go and work for a law firm or have to be an advocate. You can go and work at Old Mutual or at Standard Bank or anything like that as a legal advisor. We have public prosecutors and state advocates, something like that. So the public prosecutors are the ones who represent the state or the people. So basically, if one commits a criminal offense, it's taken as if you committed a criminal offense against the state, not against the person. So if I kill so-and-so, it's a crime against the state. Public prosecutors are the ones who represent the state and they litigate on behalf of the rights of the state. So are state advocates, pretty much the same thing. But like I said, advocates are specialists in litigation. And then we get the state's attorney. So the state's attorney, like I said, attorneys are lawyers who meet one-to-one with clients. So with the state attorney, they are a normal attorney, only that the clients are different members of the organs of state. Let's say a state attorney would represent the Minister of Justice if they're sued concerning something that's within their scope of business. Then we have the usual, the magistrates and the judges and the clerks of the court and all that. So basically, law, when you hear someone saying they're studying law, it's not just one thing, or it's not everyone who studies law who ends up doing one thing. There are so many things that one can do. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that a lot of people who study law actually also just go into academia. So they just study law, then they go on to further their studies, do a master's, do a doctorate, and they become a professor. They lecture, they teach, they enjoy imparting knowledge. So not everyone who studies law will practice law in the end. And some people who study law don't even end up doing anything related to law. They just go into compliance in some companies, stuff like that, which is different from legal advisory work. They just go into a division of a company which deals maybe with just compliance with the company's rules and stuff like that. So basically, there's a lot that you can do. And I would advise any business owner to take up maybe a diploma in law or something like that. Because it gives you an edge over your clients. Because you know what you are allowed to do, you know what you're not allowed to do, you know your rights, you know how you're supposed to treat employees, you know how or for what reasons you can dismiss them and for what reasons you're not allowed to dismiss them. You know what happens if you breach a contract. It gives you an edge over your business. If you're a business owner, I would really recommend that you take up a law diploma of some sort just to keep on the right side of the law so that you never find yourself having to close down or being sued by a client or being sued by an employee because you didn't do things by the book. Now that we've gotten rid of that, I think going forward, we're then going to address a couple of questions that people ask me when they find out I'm studying law. I know even when I was in second year, they say, oh, so you're studying law. So tell me what happens if this, that. And sometimes I would be lucky that it's maybe a module that I really enjoyed. So I could, from the top of my head, pick up a few things. Then for other questions, I'd be like, it sounds familiar, but I really don't have a clue. I've received quite a number of questions and I'm just going to be dealing with them on a simple layman type of basis. Try not to use a lot of Latin and stuff like that. It really doesn't help the situation. So if you like this, please like it. Literally like it. Like push the like button. And share. And then if you have any questions that you'd want me to address, just comment below. I might not address all of them depending on the difficulty and stuff like that. And I also have a very short period of time before I start adulting. But I'll try my best to answer especially the ones that appear a lot. Thank you so much for listening and I hope that you enjoyed this.